Welcome to Socket to Stigma Virtual.
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 What makes mental illness so scary for so many people is that we can't see it. It's an invisible disease anyone can succumb and suffer from. None of us can predict how we might respond if we lost a loved one, witnessed an atrocity, or suffered a traumatic experience.
Over the last few years, the conversation around mental illness and addiction has become more open and public, but the discussion is still falling short when it concerns everyday people, working professionals, retired seniors, and students.
When these groups disclose a mental illness or addiction, they fear losing the three things that matter the most to them in their life: their family, their friends, and their job. Disclosing a mental illness or addiction shouldn't mean losing those who should be supporting you. But for many, that fear is real.
The COVID-19 pandemic has dominated the news over the past 10 months. Over that time, people have been dealing with the realities of social distancing, remote work, quarantine, and isolation. Mental health and self-care are more important now than ever.
The purpose of this event is to keep the spotlight on the importance of mental health awareness. Celebrate those who are caregivers, mental health professionals, advocates, and champions every day. Most importantly, we want to encourage anyone out there who needs help to get it.
Always remember.
Always remember.
Always remember.
Always remember.
Always remember.
You are not alone.
You are not alone.
Welcome to Socket to Stigma Virtual.
Welcome everybody. This is Socket to Stigma Virtual. My name is Ian Adair, and I'm the Executive Director of the Grace Point Foundation. On behalf of everybody involved with the foundation, I want to welcome you here for this incredible event. The theme for this event is the power of connection. And right now, with everything going on in our country, we need to stay connected now more than ever. We all know we face professional challenges, and we're also facing many personal ones as well. For the first time, we are all homeschooling our children, working remotely, and being just a little too isolated from all of our family and friends. A little bit about the foundation. The foundation is the philanthropic arm of Grace Point, which is the largest behavioral health service provider in the Tampa Bay region. The foundation raises mental health awareness, financial support, and promotes the services and programs of Grace Point. Grace Point is an amazing place with incredible staff that impact so many people. Over 30,000 people a year are supported through mental health, medical, and addiction services. We have over 25 programs, and we have community partners all over the region. The significance and importance of our work is now more than ever. The theme is the power of connection, and social connection has never been more important, especially in a time of social distancing. The power of connection right now is what we all need because we're social distancing, we're quarantined, we're working remotely, and we're isolated. We crave connection as human beings. And so that's why we have to take the time and really make sure we're checking on our friends, we're checking on our families, and we're checking on our neighbors. Reaching out to one another is so vital in protecting and supporting the mental health of our community. Right now, the power of connection could not be more powerful, and we are here to talk about how that relates to stigma. This event is called Socket to Stigma, and it could not be a more appropriate theme because stigma is what keeps more people in our society today from getting the help they need. Now, it has become a little bit easier to talk about mental health. We see athletes talking about it, Olympians. We're seeing people that are in the music industry and people with large followings on social media. But it doesn't necessarily mean that has translated to everyday people, working professionals, students, and retired seniors alike. We still fear losing the three things that matter the most in our lives if we disclose about a mental health or addiction challenge. And that is the fear of losing our friends, the fear of losing our family, and the fear of losing our job. We give air cover to those that we feel are in stressful positions already or are in the public eye and being scrutinized all the time. But we need to feel that same compassion, that same empathy as everyday people. Mental health and addiction is treatable. It is treatable, and we can't let what other people think get in the way of getting the help we need. That is why this event is so important. And that is what we have to do in making sure we do not let stigma get in the way. We have a fantastic event for you. We're going to recognize some people doing some amazing work to take on these challenges and share their stories, and we're excited to award those folks tonight. We're also going to showcase our new book, Stronger Than Stigma, a call to action, stories of grief, loss, and inspiration. And we're going to galvanize this community to support mental health like there is no other way to do it, and we need you to make that happen. So thank you for being here, and welcome the Socket to Stigma Virtual. The power of giving has never been more important than it is today. The Grace Point Foundation does amazing work, and we cannot do it without community partners and individuals like yourself that have a true connection to what we do each and every day. I'd like to invite on stage with me a few of those people, the leaders in our organization, members of our board of directors, to join me to share their connection and their passion and why they give to support mental health awareness and addiction services in our community. So please help me in welcoming Sean Shannon, Jamie Gold, and Justin Treese. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us today as we tell our community of supporters just how important it is to give and support organizations that deal with mental health and addiction services. And I appreciate your time today. And Sean, we'll start with you. Thank you so much for being here. And we're excited that you're here to share with our audience just how much you're passionate about mental health.
Thank you, Ian, and thank everybody for being with us. And the reason why I'm passionate about what Grace Point does for our community is growing up with an alcoholic father, I saw what it could do to a family. That is why I give to Grace Point, and that's why I am part of the board and what it does for the community.
Thanks, Sean. And thank you so much for having me here today. I've been a board member here for about 2 years now, and the reason I got involved was just because I saw the amazing things that the board and Grace Point was doing out there in the community, and knew it was something that I really wanted to be involved with. The reason I give is because look at what's going on in the world today. There's so much mental health, so much emphasis on it right now, that I think there could be even more. So I think it's really important to make sure that you are aware of the mental health of those friends, family, and just people generally that are around you.
And again, thanks everyone for joining us today. And as the rest of my board members and those of us that have ever experienced any sort of, whether it's mental health issues, substance abuse, or anything else that really oftentimes we're afraid to talk about, I think that we at Grace Point really, we empower those individuals to have that voice. And that's personally why I have taken part of the board and give back to Grace Point.
I want to thank each and every one of you because without your support, we could not get done the amazing things that we're able to do in this community. And now it is our turn to ask you to join us in supporting mental health awareness, to join us in supporting the thousands of people Grace Point serves each and every year. We ask you to make that decision to support us here today. I can't thank you enough for being here today. Each of you, I can't thank you enough for joining us here today. We ask for your support. Thank you.
Almost all my life. I've struggled with addiction from the age of 13 all the way until when I got sober at about 21, which was November 4th, 1994.
In 2014, I lost my son Andrew to suicide. My life was forever changed, and it will never be the same.
My mother had suffered from an addiction of alcohol and an aunt who had died by suicide.
My brother and my mother both had suicide attempts, and my father battled addiction most of his life. Watching the people that I love suffer from these illnesses greatly impacted my life. Now I'm excited to have a platform to share and change the conversation around mental health from one that diminishes those suffering to one of empathy and support.
I am a suicide and abuse survivor, so I have a very personal connection to this topic. I was diagnosed with a number of mental health issues at a relatively young age in grade school, so pretty much my whole life I've been trying to learn more about what was going on in my own brain and then help other people learn about it too, so we can start having a better understanding of this thing.
I want anyone to know who's suffering out there right now that help is available, that you are never, ever alone.
If I could share anything with people when they're suffering, it's okay to not be okay. Everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Be kind, always.
What I want people to know who are suffering is that help is out there and you are never alone. And getting help can make all the difference it did for me.
The moment you make the decision to get help, it'll be the best decision you ever made.
We all experience stress and anxiety and frustration and doubt and guilt, and that should be a connecting point for you. We are all in the same boat.
Stronger Than Stigma is a book about courage and strength it takes to find one's path to wellness.
The shared stories in this book are some of the most authentic and real representations of what is going on in our country concerning mental illness, addiction, and recovery.
The honest and raw stories shared aren't just about how mental health and addiction impact our lives, they're about how to change the conversation so people suffering can get the help they need.
Through the power of story, this incredible group of people share their sadness, hardship, and joy, but most of all, their purpose.
I hope everyone enjoyed our book promotional video. Each person featured in it is also featured in our book, so huge thank you to that group. Our book, Stronger Than Stigma, a call to action, stories of grief, loss, and inspiration, shares the powerful, inspiring stories of individuals who have endured and overcome extraordinary circumstances and life events. We cover a wide range of topics in this book, from suicide to abuse, sexual assault, mental illness, and addiction. Our book tells firsthand personal stories of how each person addresses their loss, mental health, and addiction challenges, and also their journey to find their path to wellness, and we end with their personal call to action. Each call to action shares how each of these people supports those in need, seeking help, and shares their personal story to inspire others and how they help people suffering from profound grief and loss. This book is a roadmap to finding how you can get involved and support those suffering from mental illness and addiction. If you have a connection to mental health and are looking to be inspired and find your own personal call to action, then this is the book for you. I want to publicly say thank you to this amazing group of 12 individuals who allowed me to share their story with the world. I know story has the power to inspire others, but more importantly, it has the power to save lives. All proceeds from the sale of our book go to support the work that we do at the Grace Point Foundation. So pick up a copy today at strongerthanstigmabook.com or wherever books are sold starting in November. Please know that with every book sold, your support goes to support critical mental health and addiction services right here in our community. One of the best parts of Socket to Stigma Virtual is our ability to recognize the amazing accomplishments and achievements and work of some people in our community. Mental health has become one of the biggest concerns in the world today. Depression impacts more than 264 million people and is the #1 leading cause of disability. Suicide is the second leading cause of death for ages 10 to 34, and the fourth leading cause of death for 35 to 54-year-olds, and the 10th leading cause overall. How do you take on something that is so far-reaching and widespread? The answer is one text at a time. I am pleased to present this year's Agency Community Mental Health Champion Award to Cope Notes. This innovative company uses daily text messages that combine peer support and positive psychology to help improve mental and emotional health. Its founder, Johnny Crowder, is a TEDx speaker, professional musician, and has been featured on a number of news outlets, including CNN. Please help me congratulate Johnny Crowder for his incredible work and invite him to share more about Cope Notes, its impact, and why he is so passionate about mental health awareness. Thank you so much, Johnny. And we cannot thank you so much for the amazing work that you do. And I would just like you to share a little bit about the incredible work at Cope Notes and why mental health awareness is so important to you.
Of course, thank you for this. This is heavy. If you cannot feel this at home, this is very heavy. Hey, my name is Johnny Crowder, and yeah, I love the whole premise of this event. I've been a big fan of trying to reduce stigma, and I think it's a branding issue when I think about the fact that someone can break their leg and it can be a topic of conversation. You can say, hey, what happened to your leg? And you say, well, I was snowboarding. Or even if it's a boring story, like I tripped and fell, it's something that we can talk about. And I've always wondered why mental health isn't in that same category. So if you can't tell, I'm not a clinician. I am a mental health advocate with lived experience. So I grew up in an abusive household, drugs and alcohol around me, childhood diagnoses of schizophrenia, bipolar, OCD. I mean, a whole laundry list of stuff, and it was a lot to swallow, but something that always bothered me was the stigma surrounding it. I couldn't go to school and say, hey, you know, what'd you do over the weekend? My friend says, oh, I went to Disney. What'd you do? And I say, I got diagnosed with schizophrenia and bipolar 1. It's not something that I was able to communicate to them clearly, and I think that all of my public advocacy and Cope Notes is surrounding this idea that we should be able to better understand and communicate what we're experiencing in the mental health realm in our social circles, at work, at school. So if you guys haven't heard of Cope Notes, like Ian said, we use text messages to help improve people's mental and emotional health. And my whole goal with starting it was, you know, there were times in my life when I needed like inpatient treatment. I needed intensive care. And maybe that was 10% of my life. And then for 10% of my life, I felt like I was doing fine and no one needed to touch me. I didn't need any help. But for probably 80% of the time, I was in the middle. I wasn't in crisis, but I wasn't feeling wonderful. And that's who Cope Notes is for, that 80% of people who maybe who don't need a clinician right now, but who also aren't living in this unicorn fairy tale where everything is hunky-dory and they poop butterflies and they're really, really golden and jovial constantly. Because honestly, I live in the middle. So 2.5 years ago, I started Cope Notes, and we just wanted to make addressing mental health easier and more consistent. So we reach out to people once a day at a random time with a random message. And over time, it trains the brain to start thinking in healthier patterns. And I'm so psyched that we are in almost 100 countries. We've exchanged almost 500,000 text messages so far, and that number keeps going up. And it brings me a lot of joy because growing up, and I even told Ian about this when I first met him, growing up, I genuinely believed that I was one of the only people in the world who was dealing with what I was dealing with. I'm serious. I would look at kids at school and think, oh, that kid's probably fine. That kid's parents probably don't fight. Oh, that kid probably sleeps well at night and isn't nervous about how they look or what other people think of them. Or maybe that person isn't hallucinating. And honestly, seeing the widespread use of Cope Notes over the last few years it's been bittersweet, because on one hand, it is alarming that the need for mental health services is so global. But on the other hand, it's a relief to know that I'm not the only person in the world who's experienced a lot of these things. So honestly, stuff like this isn't something that I'm just gonna stick on a shelf or put in a dresser drawer and forget about. This is something that I'm gonna display and polish and wipe my fingerprints off of, because it's a reminder that other people care about this stuff too. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Ian, for having me. And please continue supporting the conversation around mental health. Ian is doing a lot of work to rebrand mental illness, which, like I said earlier, is probably the biggest issue. So thank you guys for being a part of it. Thank you, Ian, for having me. And I want to mail this to people so they can feel how heavy this is. This is legit.
Thank you so much, Johnny. On behalf of the entire Grace Point family and foundation community, we cannot thank you enough for the amazing work you do, the award-winning work that you're doing, and congratulations again for being our agency mental health champion. So thank you. We are excited about our next award winner because he's done so much to advance mental health awareness in our community. The ability to share your story is one of the most powerful ways to influence and impact an individual or a group of people. Stories are the common ground that allow people to communicate and overcome our differences so that we can better understand ourselves and each other. This year's winner has spent countless hours supporting addiction and mental health organizations around the country. He is an entrepreneur, an author, and weekly talk radio show host. His willingness to share about his addiction and recovery has inspired many and helped even more get the help they need. I am pleased to present this year's Community Mental Health Champion Award to Mr. Ben Heldfund. Please help me congratulate Ben for his advocacy and volunteer efforts and invite him to share more about his passion for mental health and addiction awareness. Thank you so much, Ben. I could not be more proud to give you this award. I've gotten to know you for a little bit now, and on behalf of the entire Grace Point family and community, thank you so much for everything you do to continue this conversation, move this conversation forward, and share your story and your passion for mental health.
Well, thank you, Ian. Thank you very much. I think it's first important to say my name's Ben. I'm an alcoholic. My sobriety date is November 4th, 1994. So coming up here in a couple months, I'll have 26 years of sobriety. And the reason, first of all, I'm humbled and honored for this award, but I'm no different than millions of other people in this world who have a daily reprieve from the disease of addiction. And I do put it in the mental health category. And whether it's a day or 26 years, I'm so grateful for my disease. I'm so grateful for my mental health disease because at the end of the day, it's a treatable disease. And it's not curable that we know of yet, but it is treatable. And I was 21 years old, headed down a path of death, literally, with an overdose that almost left me dead. To now being somewhat positive member of society. And the common denominator through all that is I don't drink and I don't use drugs and I pay attention to my mental health on a daily basis. And so the reason I'm so outspoken and share my story is because I want people to know that there is hope, there is a chance, there is, if you feel at the bottom of the bottom and don't think that there's any way up, just know that, like me and millions of other people who have picked themselves up and gotten the help they needed, have been able to be a somewhat good member of society, whereas before I used to take from society, and now I give. So I just want people to know, and I think that's the way we talk about stigma, and I think that's the way we break through stigma, is through the success stories of people who, if you had asked their family members or anybody around them, that they were hopeless, but now they're full of hope. So I'm honored. Thank you. I'm not. I just also want to make clear I'm not a spokesperson for any sort of recovery organization or program, but I'm just letting you know, here to let people know that recovery is possible. So thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Ben. And from one other person with lived experience, thank you for your advocacy. Thank you for being willing and able to tell your personal story. And again, on behalf of everyone from Grace Point, the foundation, we can't thank you enough for all your amazing work. So thank you so much. Up next, we have a performance by Jack O'Neill. Jack lives in New York City. He's an actor, singer, songwriter, and co-founder of the band Jacko Pierce, which has been performing all over the country for more than 25 years. Please welcome Jack O'Neill to Sock It to Stigma Virtual.
Hey, my name is Jack O, and I'm a singer-songwriter in New York City, and I'm going into my 4th year in active recovery, and I wouldn't have been able to do it without the help of a lot of great professional folks, my fellow travelers in recovery, and the support of my family. So I'd like to play a song for you. The sun went down, the shadows split the trees, the stars ran out, a black sky fell and swallowed everything. The blue black night, the feeling would not die. With the heartless aren't the loneliest, you got one thing on your side. Hail and farewell, I know I broke your heart. Oh, come on, July, will you never let me down? Everything I took, I would only give it back if I could. Sleep came in, I wanted to lie down and let the earth spin around, leave that to the ground. But I waited for the night, our feeling would not die. If the heart still breaks from the shots you take, you got one thing on your side. Hail and farewell, I know I broke your heart. Well, oh, come on, July, will you never let me down? Everything I took, I would only give it back if I could. So easily this love made could not replace all that we found lost on our way. And there's nothing safe in love, there's nothing left to say. Hail and farewell, I know I broke your heart. Oh, come on, July, will you never let me down? Everything I took, I would only give it back if I could. If I could. Hey, I want to say thank you to Ian and the Grace Point Foundation for all their great work fighting to end the stigma associated with mental illness and addiction. Be good to yourself and be good to each other. Thanks.
I want to thank everyone for joining us for this inspiring and worthwhile event. Special thank you to our Community Mental Health Champion Award winners, Ben Heldfun and Johnny Crowder, for everything they're doing to move the conversation forward about mental health, addiction, and recovery. Special thanks as well to Jack O'Neill for that incredible performance and for sharing his story with our audience. To our board members who participated and all of the mental health advocates featured in our new book, Stronger Than Stigma, I want to say thank you. I also want to express our gratitude to our sponsors for making this event possible, and to all of our donors who allow us to do this important and vital work in our community each and every day. Thank you for joining us for Socket to Stigma Virtual.